Hello everybody, this is Wharf26, and I'm here today to give you my first video game review on my channel, and it is for the game The Last of Us. And now, if you've not played this game, I would recommend definitely picking it up and giving it a shot. It's actually quite cheap now on the PlayStation Store, from what I can understand. It's pretty cheap, and it's a few years old, but it's definitely a game that stands the test of time. And that goes from everything from like the cinematic, scenes in the story mode to like the multiplayer that is just amazing. And there's three different types of modes in the multiplayer, but we'll get to that in a little bit. What I'm going to center on now is the single player mode, and I don't want to give away too much of the story, but the story centers around a virus that's broken out in the United States and different parts of the world. And your main character is Joel, and it centers around his fight for survival in this post-apocalyptic world. It's similar to that of Fallout, but it definitely has also a very emotional and raw feel to it. It's about family and survival and violence and what man would do given the chance that they were put in a situation where it was, yourself or the other guy. You know what I mean? So it definitely plays on like your instincts, and when you do even when you do multiplayer, it puts you in situations where you have to choose, helping someone or just fending for yourself, really. And that's what makes the game compelling, is you're not just left to, do like an action-packed game where you're just using guns and whatever. There's so much to the game. But as I mentioned, the single-player mode is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And I hope that it becomes something that you enjoy, because I definitely enjoy the game very much. Also to this point as well, now to get into the multiplayer part of the game, there is so much to be liked about the multiplayer. You definitely learn a lot from, I guess the different modes that are in place. Like there's factions, which is just, 4-on-4, and you basically have, I guess 20 spawns for each team. And once you run out, then the game's over, and the team, whoever has like men surviving, or their characters surviving rather, at the end will be the winner. And there's definitely a lot of lot to like in this mode, because it's very like fast paced, but at the same time you have to be very stealthy. It's all about communication and teamwork, and if you don't have that, if you don't have people that are willing to use their microphones to communicate, it makes the game much more difficult. I wouldn't say the game doesn't have its downfalls. There's times where like it's a bit laggy and people exploit glitches and whatnot, but that's common with most games. But I will definitely say to you that if you're looking for a game that is fun and fast-paced and has a lot of different elements, like the multiplayer, as I mentioned, the single-player mode, it's very rewarding as a gamer. Because for me, it's just something that I love games like this, because it's not like Call of Duty where you're jumping around on walls and like climbing along different parts of the map where you're like able to climb anywhere. This game requires a lot of stealth, a lot of teamwork, and most importantly communication, as I mentioned. And the other modes that are involved in the multiplayer are survivors, which isn't really something I enjoy, and interrogation. Interrogation's fun. It's a bit long. The interrogation is basically you have to find like a locker that is for each team. Like each team has a locker and like a I guess a home base, and you basically have to invade that team's home base and unlock the safe. And once you've done so, then it unlocks the ability to I guess collect rations and to start dwindling down the opposition. You can't really do anything until you've opened the opponent's safe. So that's one mode that I would say it's okay. It's not really my favorite. Factions MP is definitely my favorite multiplayer mode. It's just so much fun, and you can do a lot of things with your weapons. Like you start with loadouts in the game as well for the multiplayer, and each loadout contains perks, and the perks are very beneficial because you're able to use different perks for each loadout. So you can load out, I think it's like 6 different loadouts, and you use one at a time, obviously. But like you can customize them differently so that it fits into what, you know, style of play you want to use. And a lot of the guns are very cool and effective. And like for myself, I would say that if you're going to use like any gun to start with, because you have to do a lot of like gameplay to actually unlock a lot of the guns if you haven't played it before. But there's also the option to buy like weapons and perks and whatnot, and they even duel them out in packages. Like you can buy like a weapons package or like a perk package. So that's also cool and something to note if you want to fast track your progress. But for me, like when I play this game, I definitely have, you know, my favorite gun would be the burst rifle. There's also a scope burst, but I would say it's not really that good of a weapon. I wouldn't use it if, because, you know, like for me, burst is very effective in the sense that if you get a headshot, you can almost automatically kill the person you're, you know, aiming for or whatever. It's a very effective weapon. Variable is good for long range, because it's a scoped rifle. It's a very good weapon as well. There's also like secondary weapons, which would include the revolver, the enforcer pistol, which is really good, and then there's also the shorty shotgun, which is also a good weapon, and the 9mm. Of those weapons, I would definitely say that revolver is good for me. So also the shorty. I tend not to really use like loadout points for secondary weapons. Like the revolver and the 9mm are free. So, you know, keep that in mind if you don't want to like, if you don't want to, you know, use loadout points for like secondary weapons, and always go accustomed to like your gameplay. Like if you're somebody that likes to be stealthy, you know, save, you know, loadout points for like perks that are beneficial, you know, for like stealthy options, you know, because there's a lot of different perks and different abilities that you can use for each loadout. You just have to remember, you know, which ones are going to work best for you. And, you know, and if you're an aggressive player, there's so many other perks as well that would work in your favor. But, you know, you'll learn the game over time, and, like, basically, you should know, like, your style of gaming at this point, like, in terms of, like, shooter games and whatever. But, like, I would also say to you that there's a lot to like about this game outside of just, you know, the things I've mentioned. There's so much more to the game than you could really, I mean, it's just something you have to really just try to understand. But if I'm going to really give an honest review, and to me, there aren't a lot of games that would stand out as well as this game has. It is something that I would say, for me, is, you know, a masterpiece. There's no other way to describe this game. It is an absolute masterpiece. It will stand the test of time even 5, 10, 20 years down the road. It's that good of a game. It really is. So if I'm going to give it a review out of 5, I'd give it 5 thumbs up. Absolutely. Pick it up if you haven't. This is my first video game review, so I hope I did well with it, and I hope that it gives you an idea of what to expect if you decide to buy the game. And so this is Wharf 26, and if you've liked the video, great, you know, give it a subscribe. Thanks again.